Pugh. Pugh! That'll do it! That will do it! Pugh for Bournemouth! The roof of the Gold Sands is raised! Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Hello and good evening, guys. My name's Sam Davis. This is Back of the Net. Welcome if you're new. Maybe you are because you hopefully have just witnessed an interview with JT. It was an opportunity that we had through Cherries Trust, and we're going to find out more on Cherries Trust throughout the show. But it's also a chance for you to have your say and let us know what you thought of JT's opinions. We'd be really interested to find out. So the first person I'm going to bring in is a face that you'll know already. It's podcast regular Tom Jordan. How are you, Tom?
Very well, thanks, Sam. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Really enjoyed that hour. Really enjoyable. And I think that you, Mark and Peter, you did a phenomenal job there. Excellent stuff. And it was very revealing, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was definitely interesting. And like I mentioned before, he was really open, JT, and he was great in answering his questions. Seemed like he enjoyed himself and felt quite relaxed, which was really good. And yeah, good little insight into a few things as well, I'm sure, for all the fans.
Brilliant. So next we're going to bring in Mark, who is the chairperson of Cherries Trust, Mark Dean. Mark, how are you, sir?
Hi, good evening. Nice to be here. My first time live with you, Sam, on this. So nice to be here.
Seen you in person and just seen you recorded now with JT and now, yeah, live with each other. And tell you what, Mark, really enjoyed that. Really good.
It was brilliant. I've watched it obviously 4 or 5 times through now. As long as it seems we had the video given to us first thing Thursday morning, which is a good turnaround for AFC Bournemouth, media team. They did fantastic for us. They were brilliant. I can't thank Anthony Marshall enough and the AFCB media team enough. They've been fantastic with us, and they've helped make this all very, very simple and very easy to do. And you know, Tom, this is all very last minute for you guys. I felt I was really uncomfortable with just releasing it all on my own because I wanted more fans to see this and be directly involved. I didn't think it was fair to try and limit the content of who was going to see it. It had to be out there, and who better than Back of the Net? Well, honestly, I mean that, Sam, from my heart. You know, I think we've built a very good relationship now with each other, and I really felt that Back of the Net was the only way to go with it.
But you know what? Yeah, we certainly appreciate it, and having a name like that on the podcast. I mean, like Tom said in the preview video, it's not very often that fan channels or even independent supporters associations have this kind of chance.
No, it's taken me 4 months to get this. It's been hard work. It's not because anyone was trying to block us. It was just 3 or 4 times we were sort of edging around doing a date, but then something happened with the club or something happened with COVID. And we were hoping to do this live face-to-face with Jason in the same room. But it became quite apparent that was becoming more and more impossible. So we decided to go with the Zoom meeting. And thankfully, it all came off exactly as we wanted.
Yeah, it really did. We've also got Treasurer Peter Ive here as well. Peter, how are you, sir?
Hello, Sam. I'm very well, thank you.
Brilliant. And I've got to say, some absolutely cracking questions from yourself. How excited were you when you were doing this on Wednesday? Because I would have been well excited.
No, I thought it was excellent. I mean, we asked the questions off a lot of other people. We got the questions of other people. A lot of the questions, in fairness, were the same question in different forms, if you know what I mean. You know, so you get 3 people that basically ask the same question in different form. But I think we did okay getting the questions out. I think it was noticeable that Jason started off, shall I say, tentatively, but he relaxed into the interview. He seemed to relax. He seemed to enjoy it, and perhaps the club will get something out of this. The feedback, and perhaps it won't take 4 months to get the next one sorted out. Hopefully.
Well, I think it's...
Wow.
Yeah,
You're working on something, Sam. I'm working already. Something in the new year, possibly, but I'm not telling anyone who.
Well, I think it's really important in this climate where he's got no idea how we feel. And we can't be there to watch the games, and we'd usually be cheering or, booing. Well, I'm not personally a booer, but, some people do, but we can't react. And it's important that he has that feedback, and we do have the chance to, put some questions to him. And I know it took, quite a lot of time for this to happen, 4 months or so, but in a way, Mark, it's probably a little bit better than it has, because now we've had a quarter of the season to sort of talk about already, rather than maybe starting from a blank canvas where we don't know much. For instance, we may not have been able to even comment that, 3 at the back, 4 at the back, one of Tom's questions. And there were some really revealing things. And one of the things I'm going to say, and apologies if there's children, listening, but he liked to give the players a licking at half time every now and then. And even David Brooks alluded to that after the match on Saturday.
Very thing, Sam, yeah.
Some really interesting answers, Mark.
There was. You bear in mind that question right at the end about what do you want to ask us? That wasn't staged. Not at all. He knew nothing about that. That was just put in there right at the very last moment. I thought, do you know what? Let's ask him. And I thought he came up with a very good question with no warning whatsoever.
Yeah. No, you completely. I mean, Tom, what's the thing that you struck you most about? Perhaps not the content of his answers, but just the way he answered them.
Yeah, I think it was that I've alluded to it already, that openness, and like Peter alluded to as well, I thought he become more relaxed. I think as we all did in general, the whole kind of chat become more relaxed, and he seemed to think, I'm happy talking to these guys, and it's a quite nice, easy, relaxed chat. And yeah, it was that openness, and it was probably the sense that I felt from him. One, that I felt he was quite enjoying it, and it didn't look like something that he was forced into. He looked like he was quite happy to chat and was enjoying himself. And he also just it came across to me anyway that he genuinely wanted to know what the fans thought. Like Mark said, when he said that question at the end, which he wasn't aware was going to happen, he was almost, you could see he was really intrigued to know what the thoughts were. And I thought that was great to see, really. And I think for Jason, it must be difficult starting a job and not having the fans there in the stadium. So for him to be able to get that from us, and know that we're all backing him, we're all behind him, and we're impressed with the start, I think was great for him to hear, as much as it was great for us as well.
So this was all possible through Cherries Trust. And Mark, I mean, we've obviously spoke about this a couple of times on the channel before, but to anyone new that's watching, tell us a little bit about Cherries Trust and why it's important that people sign up.
Well, we're here to be a voice for the fans. We have direct links into directors, managers, etc. at the club. Direct phone numbers. We don't, we've got personal mobile numbers, everything. So if anyone fans has got problems or not sure about something, they can come to us, and we'll always do our utmost to get that into the club and a message back to the fan. We don't guess at the answer. We go and get the answer. And the more fans we have on board, the more. I don't like to use the word power, but the more we have on board, the bigger we become, the more we can try and enforce certain things. And our membership is going up slowly. The people before myself, when I came involved, obviously Peter's been involved for a few years now. Tony, I can only say a massive thank you to Tony Maycock. All the work you've done in the background and over the last, God knows how many years doing this. Congratulations to you for what you've done. It's been an absolute pleasure taking it over from you. And you'll always be part of us, Tony. And then you've got other people in the background like Kerry, James, Stuart, Brian. There's just everyone does this for passion. We don't do it for money. We do it for passion. We don't get paid. Join us. Help us become a bigger, louder voice. I think that's the best way of putting that one.
Yeah, that's right. And we're in a fortunate position in terms. The club's has been in the Premier League for a long time. We've gained a number of assets, but times always haven't been that easy for the club, Mark. And there are times where we've needed. Previously, we had the AFC Bournemouth Independent Supporters Association a while ago, and that was going back years and years and years. But there have been times where we've needed this, so it's important because we don't know what the future holds, do we?
No, we don't. The club are very good these days at coming to us and saying, well, this is what we're thinking about doing for fan return. Nothing's been signed and sealed off on that, so I'm not going to say anything. It's for the club to do that, but they do come and talk to us. They do sound off of us at times, and it's actually a pleasure when they come to us, and they don't feel that we are going to abuse the trust they give us. That board to board, Peter, you were there.
Yeah.
There was not one single question ignored. Not one. Nothing. They didn't say, we're not talking about that. We're not discussing that. And thank you. That's trust.
Yeah, it is. And, and to have that trust, you've got to, build a relationship. Were there any questions that weren't answered by JT, or, is every question you put to him answered?
Okay, there was a couple of questions that we were asked politely not to ask. And they were purely down to not Jason's remit.
Yeah, okay.
And it's putting Jason in a very... Sorry, Pete?
So one question was actually factually incorrect, wasn't it?
It was, and I'm not going to say it because I don't think it's fair to stand out on someone. But there was one question that was factually incorrect, and they gave us the reason why. And there's two other questions. There was 28 questions initially. We went down to 25 questions. Not all 25 questions were asked, but when you actually look through the questions, you'll see that JT was answering questions on his own without even prompting for them. But it's the same as with the board to board. We were told stuff through trust we can't repeat because it's not public domain, and otherwise they won't tell us anymore. And it was a pleasure actually to send in 28 questions that I thought some of them were quite challenging, and come back with 25. And the only 3 they're removing is one because it's factually incorrect, and the other 2 because it wasn't about direct team matters. So that's it.
What do you think of Peter? Peter, what do you think of JT's kind of media persona? Because I've seen his sort of interviews, and you can see, when he was put in charge of it. I think one of the games we had in the Premier League, I think, was it Man United away, Tom, where Eddie Howe couldn't manage for some reason. He couldn't be there, and then JT did all the interviews. And there's been a few times where he's done, and he's not very confident, but you can see he's getting more and more confident. And Peter, I've never seen him more relaxed.
He's certainly growing into it, isn't he? He's certainly growing into it. It's not. He's never going to be Harry Redknapp from that point of view. We're never going to see him on I'm a Celebrity. But no, his persona with the press, dealing with the press, doing the interviews. I think it's an ongoing process. It's getting better all the time.
Yeah, it really is. So, what was the standout answer or moment for you, Peter, during that? Was there a particular sort of thing that you'll look back at and smile at, or you thought something was quite insightful, or something that you maybe didn't know?
I thought it was interesting, the answer to the Weymouth manager question, which was not one of my questions. I can't remember if I name checked the person involved. I'll just say at this point, if anyone did submit questions and we didn't ask them, it wasn't intentional, but as you can see, it became very much a chat. And often Jason would answer a question that we had at perhaps at number 17 and we were on number 8. So you were crossing that and that. He'd already answered it unasked. And if we did miss anyone's questions out, it wasn't intentional, but unless you start doing question number 1 and making it all too formal, which I don't think would have worked as well, I'll just apologise for anyone whose question we missed out. But no, going back to what you said to me, the Weymouth, the way he dealt with that, and he said that it hadn't been a lot of help now because the experience he'd had over the last 8 years, but it had probably helped when him and Eddie first started off on the road all those years ago on -17.
Brilliant. Well, I've got to say, credit to Cherries Trust for getting this sorted, Mark. And
it's been a pleasure, Sam.
Brilliant. Absolutely superb.
Can I just answer something? Someone called John has just said, did you consider questions about Josh King?
Yes, yeah.
No, we didn't. Reason being is I didn't want, especially this first conversation with Jason, to be at all like he felt uncomfortable.
True, yeah, that's fair enough.
And I didn't really want to put him in that position. I'm not sure how Tom or Peter felt about that, or how Sam feels, but I just didn't feel it was fair.
No, I agree. I agree. You're trying to build that relationship there, and like you say, Jason got very relaxed during the conversation, and like we've all alluded to, it become a really nice, relaxed chat rather than being too like 1, 2, 3. And I think that was because early on he realised we were just fans interested, and we weren't coming at him with real hard-hitting questions like, I want to know about this player. I want to know. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like we were trying to dig any dirt up. We were just having a chat and just wanted to, to be that voice and hear what he's about and let him, talk to the fans in that sense. So I totally agree. I don't think it would have been fair to go down the route of being too personal and individual on certain players and stuff like that.
This other question just come up now about training ground. Refer to board minutes that have been published. The answers are in there. I'm not going to go on about it now because it's going to take up too much time. I'm actually going to step aside very shortly and let Sam, Tom and Peter have a fan come live with them, if that's okay, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a problem at all. And you know what? It has been a pleasure to have you on. And Mark, thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll be hearing from you very soon. Appreciate it.
You will do. And just one last thing, don't forget, sign up for Cherries Trust. You don't have to pay the £10 annual fee. You can do it free if you want to. Paying the £10 enables us to do more. We do have bills to pay, believe it or not. We have to present our books to Companies House every year. That's an expensive thing on its own. And a website we're just about to get started, that's not going to look cheap either. So it just helps us do a lot more stuff. So thank you, everyone. And to those who are going to be members with us shortly, welcome. To those thinking about it, go online and sign up. Thank you so much, guys. Tom, it was a pleasure being with you on that day. Peter,
same to you, Mark.
As always, what can I say? And Sam, I'm sure we'll be speaking very soon.
Will do. Nice one. That's Mark Dean, Cherries Trust Chair. Thank you very much, Mark, for coming on. Appreciate it. And it's very interesting now to hear what a few Cherries fans are saying. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see a link that this week is slightly different because we knew that there would be fans on even before that we were on air ourselves. So afcbpodcast.com/JT. That's the link that you need to go to. That will redirect you to our StreamYard link. All you need to do is just allow your camera and mic, and then we'll get chatting about what we've heard. And as Tom said in the very start of the program, we're not going to go after 10 o'clock. So if you're looking for your fix of I'm a Celebrity, you can go onto ITV1+1 and see who's got amongst the kangaroo testicle this week or whatever it is. Anyway, Craig Beasley is here. Craig Beasley, how are you, sir?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Sam.
How did you find that, Craig?
Yeah, very interesting. He was very relaxed, answered every question, went into so much depth as well. I was, quite surprised what he mentioned with the comparisons to the 2015 team, and what he made some comparisons and seeing those partnerships being built now. So he did mention, of course, down the right-hand side. So with with Brooks, basically, so that was one thing that was mentioned. So yeah, it was very, very informative. It seemed like nothing really was out of bounds. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, did you find that, Tom, that it felt like there wasn't a question that you couldn't really ask him?
Yeah, well, I think, like I said, we developed that kind of relationship very quickly in terms of, I think he felt comfortable that we weren't going to ask anything inappropriate. So it's kind of, do you know what I mean? It's that joint thing that you build up through just having a chat with someone. But I think that is the word that I would keep using. It's open. I think that's how Jason's come across. I think he's coming across like that pre-match and things now as well, to the media, openly saying at the weekend, for example, how he was really more happy with the first half and things like that. He's quite open. I don't think he's not really that political in answering his questions. I think he's very straight to the point, and that always makes it easier for us. And it was just it made, I felt, because he felt relaxed, it made myself really relaxed, and it was just easy. Just felt like I was having a chat to a Bournemouth fan, which I'm sure Jason is, that's just got a fair bit more power than myself in terms of picking the team and stuff like that. So it was nice.
Although to be fair, your recent team selection was pretty much bang on the money. I've got to say, Tom, I'm starting to wonder whether you got JT in your pocket now or what. I don't know, but
I can't comment on that speculation.
Yeah. So, Peter, we didn't really talk too much about his predecessor, did we? Because it's probably unfair to compare, and maybe Howe was a legend. He did so much for the club, and he's got huge shoes to fill as JT. And it was probably unfair to ask him too much about about Eddie Howe. Do you agree?
I do agree. Yeah, I do agree. JT has got to be his own man. He mentioned it more than once.
He did, yeah.
Probably more than we did. But I think that's what you have to do. You have to let him comment on that. It's not fair on Jason. It's also not fair on Eddie. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Craig, so from what you heard tonight, what surprised you from what he said, or was there anything that really surprised you? Because it didn't sound like media talk. It really didn't. It just sounded like he was having a conversation down the pub. He chatting to a few mates and sounding very open. He wasn't very guarded.
No, I think with the Asmir Begovic talk as well, that was quite interesting.
Definitely.
When Asmir was last season, whether or not there was a falling out with Howe, you don't know. It's only speculation. But how Begovic has played since coming back, you can read into that whatever way you will. And JT's definitely got him on side. He does seem to be a people person, doesn't want to get too close to the players, which is understandable from being in management itself as well. You don't want to get too close to people, but at the same time, you want them to know that you're there to talk to. Yeah. And that was quite interesting that he's got that same philosophy, because when you see him from the outside, you seem to think, right, okay, like Eddie, you thought Eddie was a bit of a father figure to all those players. But it was nice to see that bit of distance, and what he gave some reasoning why he does that as well. So, I think it's all very positive. There's question marks over a couple of players, of course, but I think Jason will be very, very open, and if those players, do change attitude or performances, he'd welcome him back with open arms. So,
yeah, I think I don't know whether it was a fear or whether I considered it a good thing. I knew that when Eddie left the club, I thought the continuity of JT was going to be a good thing. It was exceptional circumstances given the amount of money that we wouldn't be getting in, and things would have to be different. There'd be a manager that would need to operate on a relative shoestring. The turnaround time was really quick, some exceptional circumstances, and we didn't know which players that we would retain either. And you need to maintain harmony within the squad, and why not have a person that's been at the club for so long? And yeah, he was untried, but then so was Eddie. So why not give him a go? And it would almost be discourteous not to give Jason Tindall a go, because people will mention Gary Monk and Chris Hooton and stuff like that. But he seemed to have taken to it like a duck to water so far, and even his media duties are improving, I've got to say. But my fear was that you see on those Cherries videos on where they do like training ground, behind the scenes or whatever, and you see him laughing and joking around with the players, and I kind of thought, would he be able to have that divide? But it's clear that he's managed to do that, Peter.
I think it was interesting when we asked him if he had to change his style since he became manager, and he said, I've never been that close to the players. He's always considered himself part of the management team rather than the buffer, shall we say, between the players and the manager. He seems to have alluded himself with the management right from the start, which meant he didn't have to change his style that much.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's been really good to see, actually, and sometimes I need to watch it back. It's sort of one of those things. I've only watched it through once, just now, and also when putting it together, like bits and bobs. But I am going to watch it again, and I'm sure there'll be, probably another revelation. What we're going to do is we're going to rotate it around, and we're going to do it for the next sort of 30 minutes or so.
No, I'll drop out now, Sam.
Peter,
okay?
I've got to say thank you so much to you and to Mark Dean. You're doing a sterling job, and let's keep the conversation flowing. And all the best, mate. Up the cherries.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming on. That was Peter Ive, the treasurer of Cherries Trust, and a person that, when we did the show, Tom, you'll remember this, saying about JT being announced. There was a person that had to be convinced more than most, and that was Morgan Scott. Morgan.
Here he is.
Hello.
Hello.
Right.
Good evening.
How are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And just want to kick off. That was an excellent hour or so watching Tom, Mark, and
Peter.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah.
Sunday night tiredness kicking in there, but no, it was really interesting to see what Jason Tindall had to say, and it's obviously been hard with Eddie for most people going, but I think Jason's got his own philosophy on things, and it's been really interesting to see what he's going to do differently and what he's going to keep the same. And it's been really, really nice to kind of hear that in more depth. And he was really comfortable in talking to Tom, Peter, and it's really good.
Yeah. I think so.
I make everyone so comfortable, don't I, Sam?
Yeah, you do. I'm just so chilled out. Yeah. But it's true though, and you had a laugh and a joke with him, Tom, as well.
Always, mate. I think Jason was just as overawed, seeing me. When he said at the start, he said, "Is that Tom from the player rating?" So I said, "Yeah, that's me." Yeah. No, he was great. Like I said all along, it was that we felt comfortable, he felt comfortable. Do you know what I mean? It's that mutual thing. As soon as you start a conversation, I think if you watched it like in real detail, you probably, I think Mark or Peter, one of them alluded to it. If you watched it throughout, I think you'll find all of us as a group get more relaxed as it goes along, because I think, like, from his point of view, he's like, I wonder what they're going to ask, and from our point of view, I wonder how open he's going to be. And when we both realised, from both sides, that this is just, we're just all people that love the club, and we're just having a chat, and it was great.
Actually, just on that as well, absolutely loved your question asking him where his best position was, and his answer was golden. It was really, really good.
No, I genuinely remember watching him when he come to the club, and I honestly, when people ask me, I can't remember, because he used to play everywhere. I mean, like I say, he got injuries and stuff, but he used to be one of them players, didn't he? He would come on up front last 10 minutes. He was centre midfield, then he was centre half. So I was genuinely interested to see where he felt he was. I knew he was going to say like some sort of midfielder. He was a centre half. Centre half. I'm telling you.
And like we said on the preview show of this interview, Tom, it's nice that he asked us the question of how we feel as well, because he's got no idea. He's got no idea how we feel, and there's always a temptation, I've got to say, when you're in that position to, for want of a better phrase, brown nose the person that you're talking to. He's he's a legend. He is a Bournemouth legend. Maybe not godlike status yet like Eddie, but he's still a legend, and he's worked wonders for the club in terms of helping Eddie. We don't know how much input he actually had, but was there any questions that you would have felt uncomfortable asking Tom, or did you feel as though if you needed to ask anything that might be uncomfortable, you could have said it?
Yeah, probably. I probably felt as if he wouldn't have been. I feel like the way he was, he would have probably just said, "I'm not going to answer that right now." I don't think he would have, stormed off or anything like that. I think he was pretty relaxed. But I suppose, like it was mentioned earlier, I would have felt uncomfortable going things that, like we said, are not in his remit, financial stuff, things like that. That's not what he is as a manager. That's not what we need to, ask about budgets and things like that. And also going too personal on certain players. I think it's fair to try to think of an example, like I said about Begovic, and then mentioning a few players that are away on international duty. It's different to kind of saying, what's this player's best position? What's this player's best position? How much would you sell him for? And going a bit too in detail. And apart from that, probably it's the way I think it's the way you talk about like Eddie, because I think Eddie's going to come up in every conversation because he's the manager that's just left at the end of the day. But it's also realising that they're both different people, and they're also part of the same management team as well, and not to make him feel like he's getting compared all the time. I mean, I've seen a few things since the weekend game. It's so easy to just compare all the time. Any little thing that happens in a game. Well, what would Eddie have done here? Let's just forget that now. Eddie was absolutely amazing, and Jason said, Jason knows that he's a legend and we all love him. But Jason Tindall's here of his own right now, and let's get behind him. We wouldn't be. I don't think we would be comparing to Eddie if it was someone from the outside, like a Chris Hughton or someone. I think we're almost trying to read too much into it sometimes. I think it's already shown that he's his own man. He's got his own ideas.
And I like that aspect of the interview as well, Tom, because it could have all become about Eddie. And one of the things that I asked was, is Eddie giving any advice? Has Eddie given you any advice, since you've been manager? And to be fair, it wouldn't really be that fair to go into that in too much detail because, like you say, Jason is his own man. He's got his own ideas. What he did at the weekend works a treat. He's playing a different formation, and it's working.
Yeah, I think, like you said there as well, Craig. I think just hypothetically, if we were to have asked a similar sort of question, I genuinely think he would have said, Eddie knows I'm a man, but he said to me, all the best, we're friends. Do you know what I mean? I still think he would have been like, I know I can just chuck him a text or whatever, but he also is respectful and knows that it's my job now, and he stepped away and it's my chance. And to be honest, Eddie, as much as I can't imagine, I can imagine Eddie being like, I'm not going to do that. I can imagine him not wanting to give advice because it's kind of like, I've had my turn, it's your turn. And yeah, I'd like to think, we'll never know, I'd like to think they're just mates that might catch up now and again. Do you know what I mean? But not necessarily have to talk about football, but who knows? In a perfect world, they're just like really good mates. And we won't know. So I don't think it's fair to go down that route too much. I think it's nice for JT to feel as well from the fans that we're just all behind him. And we're kind of like, we miss Eddie, we love Eddie, but this is you now, Jason. Go for it, mate, and not kind of be like, oh, would Eddie have done this? Would Eddie have done that? So, and I think he genuinely feels like we're giving him that chance. I just wish we could be in the stadium, kind of proving it vocally. But what can you do? Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
That thing that Jason's got against him at the moment is we're not there. Eddie had us in the ground, whereas Jason's had that to overcome. And exactly. Dean Court, I've always thought that when teams come to Dean Court, it's an intimidating place for them, especially the likes of the Man Uniteds, the Tottenhams, and even teams in this league, because we're quite close to the pitch. We do make lots of noise. It is a smaller ground. So teams won't like coming here. However, if we're not there as fans to make that sound and get behind the manager of the team, it's a little bit of a different ball game. And I got that feeling from Jason when he was asking questions that he can't wait for fans to get back in Dean Court.
Yeah, definitely.
Get behind him.
Yeah, I can't wait until that day comes. Morgan, what was your sort of most favourite part of the interview, or most revealing moment in that hour with JT that we just had?
I think his perspective towards him was top class. In terms of, and it feels like he didn't want to get too. He wanted to be that role model for the players, but he didn't want to get too close to them. Like he didn't want to be like a mate, which is not healthy for anyone. But then he was there on them when they needed it. Like he said, he would sit down with them and talk about things away from football with their families, and I think that's really important with mental health these days. I know, Tom, you're a big fan of that. And then also his, you could see what kind of, like Eddie, family means to him means a lot. He's not going to go and spend 4 hours on a golf course, which he may want to do, but he's spending the time away from football with his family. And I think that's really important as a manager, because you don't want to get to the point where you're not seeing your friends and family, because then it might, towards Eddie, the end of, I don't want to make this too much about Eddie, but towards the time with Eddie, you could see that he was suffering a bit. So we're not seeing his family so much. So maybe that for me, that was quite moving, and it was really good to get the perspective of that. Also, you guys said that he's his own man and he makes his own decision. You know, I don't think Eddie would have made that change at the weekend against Reading, bringing on Metz at half-time, but potentially, I don't know that for definite, but as a thinking outside the box, Eddie didn't change it up to maybe 60, 70, 80 minutes in. So that was really interesting. And if Jason didn't make that change, then maybe we might not have had him on a 4-2 win. So, yeah, it's really interesting.
You make a very good point there as well, Morgan, about spending time with his family. And I think, like any job, and football management, you know, we all think of it as a dream job. You know, I'd absolutely love to be a football manager, but I'm not. But any job out there, you could burn yourself out if you didn't have that time away and spend that time with your family. And, you know, I found that quite interesting. Of course, if you go to a golf course, you play a couple of rounds of golf, you could be playing with people who are connected to the club. It might be good for him to turn off from football. I'm sure if you're doing it day in, day out as a job, you need that bit of time away.
Yeah, and I think when he said that he kind of leaves his work at the office, I think that's really important as well. You don't want to be going home and spending 3-4 hours analysing a game and then sat down at 10 o'clock and then, you know, half an hour going to bed and going back to work. That's no way to live. So it was really interesting. It's really good that he can kind of leave at work and then go home, enjoy his time with his family, and then go back the next day like most managers do. And I think that's really important because everyone has their own life away from the game while as in it. So, yeah, that's really interesting.
What we're going to do, we're going to bring in Rich Neal now, who's been obviously trying on his mobile to get in for the last 10 or 15 minutes or so, and he hasn't been able to. I think he's been having audio issues, but now it looks like he's on a different device. So I'm going to add him to the stream, and hopefully he can hear us all okay. Rich, can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry, I've just been having major problems. But yeah, I can now hear you just that second, luckily. Hello, sorry.
Excellent. Oh, good stuff. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. Yeah, that was great. So I'm just frantically trying to turn you all down, just that slight bit so it doesn't blow my eardrum, and then I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no worries. So, I mean,
I'm ready.
In terms of what you heard tonight from JT, what did you think?
I was really impressed, actually. Firstly, with the whole production of it, obviously with Tom and the gang, really well put forward all the questions, etc. But secondly, how he answered them all, how open he was, how relaxed. I mean, that's his style, being very laid back and relaxed anyway. But no, really impressed. I mean, I've been growing to him throughout the season anyway, but obviously tonight, especially even the last question was, to hear everyone put that to him and how he was pretty much blown away really by I think what you'd all said, and I think it meant a lot to him. So I think that really helped him as well.
Your audio's a little bit choppy, by the way, Rich. I'm not sure if that is your.
Don't tell him that. He's gonna lose his edit. Don't tell him that.
He is. I don't. You know what? Try without headphones if you want.
I thought it was perfect, Rich. I don't know what Sam's on about.
No, it wasn't. Come on.
Is that any better at all?
There's a lot of clicking going on. Not quite dolphin-like, but it's
all right.
Yeah. Anyway, marks out of 10 for that interview. Then, Rich, go on.
It's got to be a good 8.5 to 9. I reckon.
8.5.
It was only an 8, but I was on there. I got an extra half. Love that bit.
Yeah, of course it is,
Rich.
Yeah, Rich. Yeah, the issues are a bit. It is a bit, a bit clicky. So we'll just have to let you go for now because
God, that was out of order. That was out of order.
You know what? Right, what we're going to do? We're going to end it shortly because you know what? We've chatted for 40 minutes or so, and people want to make their cups of tea ahead of I'm a Celebrity. Now, fingers crossed. Do you now no longer see the viewers' comments, guys? On the
it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. That's because we're just going to end with a bit of trivia here. Because I did this in a pub quiz last night. Well, not a pub quiz because we're now in, but an online.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. And I'm going to put it to you as football fans. No Googling. This hasn't got anything to do with AFC Bournemouth, by the way. But people at home can make the comments on YouTube, right? Tom, I think you'll be excellent at this. Craig and Morgan, I think you'll be all right as well. And the question is, who are the 7 Davids to have won a Premier League winners' medal? There are only 7. Who are the 7 Davids to have? Yeah, I know, which is weird when you think about it. There are 7 Davids that have won a Premier League winners' medal. Correct, Beckham. He won a shit ton with Man United. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if City have had any or David Silva. Does that count? David
Silva.
Yeah.
It does count. Yeah. David Silva's one of them.
Did they have any more? Chelsea. Who have Chelsea had? Leicester. Did Leicester have anyone that season?
Morgan, you're blatantly reading something.
Yeah, what are you doing, Morgan? List of Davids.
Yeah.
No, I'm literally.
David Seaman. Yeah.
Sure.
David Seaman.
That was Rich Neal. That was Rich Neal.
I've got one.
Go on.
David May.
Thinking outside the box, mate. That is
great shout.
Superb. That is an absolute shout. And you're right. Yeah. David
Great
May
shout.
is one of them as well. Now, there are 3 others. You got David Beckham, Seaman, Silva, and May.
Can I ask for a little clue here, Sammy?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Did they play for? Can I rule Leicester out, or is there a Leicester player
you can rule Leicester out.
Just saves me thinking about Chelsea.
I'll give you a clue. Yeah, there is a Chelsea.
There is a Chelsea.
Hang on, David Luiz.
Yeah, well done.
It's because he's David. There's too many Davids in there.
2 more to go.
2 more to go. Shall I give you the clubs?
Yeah, go on.
Manchester United and Arsenal.
No, I've got to get Arsenal, man. Well, I'll go for Arsenal. Arsenal and David. Oh, it's doing my head in. This ain't great for a podcast, is it? All sat here silent.
I'll tell you what. Okay.
What
goalkeeper?
year?
Yeah. Goalkeeper? For who? For Arsenal?
Man United.
Oh, for Man United.
Yeah.
Oh, David De Gea. I forgot.
Come on, lad. That was easy. And final one.
What position? I'll have this.
I think he was attacking midfielder. And
not David Platt. It was
David Platt.
It was David Platt.
Yeah, 1997-98 season.
Oh, he was still there.
And also David Batty as well is the 8th, but he actually turned it down. He was offered a medal under the special dispensation in 1995, but refused it. He'd only played 5 matches that season due to injury. There you are.
I remember seeing a stat somewhere. I'm not sure if it's still. It was only a couple of years ago, so it might still be the case. I think he was definitely the first. Balotelli was one of the only Italians to have ever won the Premier League. And you're like, that's mental, because you feel like there should be loads of Italians that have won it, because obviously they're a good nation for football. But I know when he won it, he was like the first or something crazy. But
Blackburn. Was Blackburn, wasn't it?
What?
Batty.
Yeah. Was that a Blackburn? Yeah. David Batty. Where was David Batty?
Yeah.
I just remember him at Leeds, really.
95.
Yeah,
he might have been Blackburn.
Maybe someone in the comments will be able to tell us. I'll switch them back on for you. Right, we're going to rotate a little bit again now. Craig, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Craig.
Look forward to chat tomorrow because we've got some opposition fan chats on. So
Yeah,
Craig, heading those up. Nice one. Cheers, Craig. Thanks very much. And right, what's the time? We'll do it for another 7 minutes. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
What a mental weekend.
Well, come on, Kurt, talk us through the weekend.
Absolutely ridiculous. I'll tell you what, apart from an away day and being in the football stadiums, the last time I felt like just what's going on in the world was back in April 2015 on a Monday night about 11 o'clock when we beat Bolton 3-0. So, this weekend's just ridiculous. I just don't want it to end, really. But yeah, what a mad day today, and what a mad 35 minutes yesterday.
So to anyone that doesn't follow you on Twitter, you've got your username as your handle. You've been christened by this guy down there as the AFC Bournemouth version of Gary Neville for your expert punditry on the podcast. And you had your question put to JT, which was nice. but you only get a tweet from Lewis Cook tonight.
Yeah, and what a player, what a performance yesterday, what a guy. Tom can have Jeff all he wants. My new love is Lewis Cook.
New love.
So
I heard you saying he was just a poor man's Andrew Sermon the other week, but whatever.
no, absolutely amazing. I mean, Owen was absolutely blown away by it. So yeah, it's what dreams are made of.
So, Kirk, Mr. Tiggs asks you, how do you feel about the JT appointment now? You're a person who was cautious. I wouldn't say pessimistic. You were just very cautious. And, we had quite a heated, discussion, like a load of us. It was pretty interesting, I've got to say. It was one of the more explosive ones that we had on Back of the Net. And, we all finished off by singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of the fact that we want him and AFC Bournemouth to do as well as possible. What's been your verdict? Because in the grades, Tom Jordan, he gave him a B. On the podcast the other week, Neil Dawson gave him a C. Where does the land lie with you?
I mean, firstly, I always had JT's back, obviously. I mean, just obviously to the appointment and going back to that night, I think it was still raw, the emotion of losing Eddie, and if it wasn't going to be Eddie, I just wanted maybe a completely different direction. But as we sit here at the moment, second in the Championship, the table doesn't always tell the full story. But at the end of the day, the results are what matter, and if we get promoted, performances always come second, really. But he's done well. I mean, he's done well. He's at this stage, it seems like the club have made the right decision, and I was clearly wrong. And I'm happy to accept that. And all, I hope it continues. I hope we continue to get results like we did yesterday. I obviously, as I've said before, I evaluate a game in its full. I don't look at the best bits and then just clap those. I like to evaluate where we can improve, and that's where I come from when I come on the free for alls. So, but yeah, it was a really good interview actually. I thought it was. I remember I've been to a few fans forums actually previously before we were Championship and Premier League, and it felt like those fans forums were very. It was an opportunity for fans to just criticise Eddie's tactics or where the club. Where the club are going wrong and how they could do this and do that. It was so much different to a fans forum that I've been to before. It was just more of a relaxed, like you say, conversation and just actually just talking. And that I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's hopefully something that the Cherries Trust are going to try to organise, and obviously we'll do our interviews and carry on doing the people that we have access to, including Wednesday night. At the bottom of your screen, you can see all the information, but we've got former Cherries manager and player Kevin Bond. It's a 75-minute interview. It's playing out at 7:30 on Wednesday night. And tell you what, really absorbing chat. And we cover everything, including, panorama, the financial, difficulties we were under, the time that Jeff Mostyn was invited to the club and left the stadium 20 grand lighter, loads of things like that. It's the stories he comes out with are just ridiculous. So I recommend that on Wednesday. And Kirk, we heard a few nuggets from JT there as well tonight. And did anything he say surprise you at all?
No, but it was good to see that, I always thought I'd had an understanding that he was sort of the joker on the training ground. And it seems to say that he said that actually he's never really got that close, that it made a difficult decision in benching someone because it was almost like they were friends and, he was letting his mate down. And, there is that level of trust. And that he wants, obviously, the training to be fun and enjoyable and to have positivity. But ultimately, he's got to make tough decisions. And when those tough decisions come, he's got to make sure that he's not got that feeling of, well, he's my mate. And that's what I think a lot of us have thought before is, in previous management, our players being picked because of who they are and the connections that they have. And it's good to hear that no one's undroppable in this team, and I like to hear that. I mean, I don't know who asked the Dom Solanke question. I have no idea, but
But you were saying about you like to analyse matches, kind of, you're just that we won 4-2, and it's brilliant. There were some issues in that performance, and that first half wasn't particular. I don't think it was piss poor. I've seen worse halves, but we still weren't as good as we should have been. But there are some people on Twitter that will post comments immediately, and then they're called bedwetters at the time, at full time, when we're 4-2 and it's all happy days. But what's your thoughts on that, on this kind of knee-jerk opinions? Because I must admit, I'm sort of making notes during the game, so I never look at Twitter anyway. So it's something that I don't take notice of. But I've heard all about it, and apparently at half time there was some very toxic things that were said.
Yeah, it's easy to say, isn't it? It's just easy to bring the team down at 2-0 down and say the game's over and what are we doing and all that. I mean, I think I made a comment at half time yesterday to say that the same sort of issues we've had really in performances are that our tempo's not been quick enough from the start and we're not scoring enough early goals. But as I said yesterday, I never felt like the game was over at 2-0. Because you look at Reading and they've conceded a lot of goals in the last 3 games. And we know we've got quality when that turns up, and it only took 35 minutes to score 4 goals. What I want to see is for us to turn up from minute 1. And I think Dan highlighted that yesterday. Is we don't know the reason why they're not coming out the changing rooms and playing like that from minute 1, and why it's taking so long to get going. I personally don't know why it's happening, but I'm sure JT sees it. He brings it out in his post-match interview that yes, they got the result, but performances can improve. And I'm sure they're clever people. Graham Jones is a clever person. Stephen Purchase is. They know that there's a problem there, and it shouldn't take 55 minutes for us to get going. If we get that sorted, we're going to do very well this season, in my opinion.
Morgan, why do you think it happens that we're so slow at the blocks? Because it's happening almost like with metronomic regularity now. Every single match, we start really poor. What on earth do you think it is?
I don't know, to be honest with you. That's the best question I've been asked all year. But in terms of... in terms of... I think in terms of the... Kurt said there, football starts in the first minute of a game. So as soon as that referee's played that whistle, you're not thinking about what you're eating for dinner. You're thinking about what you're doing right. And I think for Bournemouth, in a numerous of game, the Sheffield Wednesday one was probably the worst performance of the season so far. But in terms of factors in the game, the tempo was too slow. How hard is it to pass the ball 5 yards without giving it away? I think it was 3 or 4 minutes in, for the penalty, Lewis Cook, Steve Cook, Cookie could have brought him down and given him away a free kick. Yes, it could have gone in, but it was better than the penalty. Steve Cook didn't dive in, didn't block it, and then Begovic had to commit and give the penalty, which it was. So it's really disappointing, but hopefully after the last 35 minutes of the Reading game, now we can push on and we can find the aggression to pump up in the first period of game, because the amount of corners that came in that were just going short, and it was like, what the hell are you doing? You're bringing the centre halves up to go and run back 50 yards, and it's just a waste of time. That ball's got to be going directly into the box for Solanke, Cali, Cookie to get on the end of it. So hopefully we're push on against Nottingham Forest on Tuesday night, and hopefully we're play the game for 90 minutes rather than 35.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Well, we're going to wrap things up there, I think. Really appreciate your input, Morgan. Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Tom. Thanks,
Cheers, buddy. And I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh, he wants to say... Look, he can't even go, can he?
I just want to thank Tom for yesterday.
Oh, no.
That's fine then. Extend the show.
Leave him, Sam.
Honestly, Owen's buzzing, and he came off and he said Tom made him feel so comfortable, and he really enjoyed just chatting Bournemouth. So big thumbs up, Tom. Big thumbs up,
cheers,
Sam.
Man.
That's brilliant today.
Appreciate it, mate.
Really
Thank you very much.
It. That's Kirk Tovey. What a weekend. Sadly, it's got to end, and that's gone. And Tom, well done.
What?
I thought, I thought you were, I had the chance to speak to him, but I thought you would be a lot better, because I just think you're like you're a better communicator, and you
I agree.
are well, you are. And I thought you did a really sterling job. And some of the questions that you asked were well composed. They were funny. They were educated. And for instance, I couldn't really sort of remember the fact that JT didn't. He was sort of a utility player, but I couldn't really remember the fact that he played everywhere. But yeah, no, fair play. I think you did a great job. Mark Dean, of course, and Peter Ive as well. Fantastic questions. And if you're watching this and you're wondering what we're talking about an hour with AFC Bournemouth manager Jason Tindall, which is available on this channel to view right now. If you go to our homepage on YouTube or on Facebook or even on Twitter as well, it'll be the pinned tweet. And from one AFC Bournemouth manager to another, previous one, Kevin Bond, and that's going to be on Wednesday night. Really looking forward to that. Tom,
when you just said from one Bournemouth manager to another, I thought you were going to pass over to me like I've got the job or something. I thought, what's he doing here?
yeah.
But no, cheers, mate. And like I say, reiterate, like you're saying then, I'm glad everyone seems to think it come across well. And, just reiterate what everyone said, that when you've got someone that makes you feel so relaxed, it's so much more easy, you know what I mean, to have a chat. Like everyone seems to be saying a similar thing, that it was quite relaxed chat, which is great to hear because that's how it felt. And also Sam, everyone's I've been getting a lot of thanks and stuff, which is really nice to hear from everyone, because you're the host, you never get it. So big thanks to you. You put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work, and I mean, you're not always great, but you put a lot of time. Now you're great, mate, honestly. And I speak for everyone that's watching this now that really appreciate all the hard work you put in as well, mate. Behind the scenes, as much as, I mean, you're on the camera a bit too much potentially, but you also put a lot in behind the camera. So
that's why I'm trying to get.
Thanks,
I mean,
mate.
I'm trying to get. I appreciate that. It's why I'm trying to get as many more faces to present their own shows and do stuff. Craig's doing his opposition shows. Morgan's going to be coming on board with his thing. Your player ratings as well. Have you got more guests lined up over the sort of games ahead?
Yeah, it's been really nice actually, because I thought I'll have to ask a few, but I've got there's a few people that they have said their interest coming on, so I've got a few, so I've just sorting out as and when, but yeah, no, it's always, and I suppose you'll be able to answer, but I guess for you as well, with doing all these different shows and getting all these different fans involved and stuff, it must make it more enjoyable for you as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because sometimes you do a video and then you just got to put it away and go to bed, but you can that me and you chat about it and stuff like that, and I'm sure other fans you have chats with, and feels like a real AFCB family kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And that must be really rewarding as well.
I really enjoyed that show with Owen that you did. I thought it was superb. And
he was great as well, honestly. It was brilliant.
It's nice to have fans of a different age and not just us 20, 30 somethings. Soon I'll be 40 something, but I'm not in that bracket right yet, so I'm all right.
So you're mid 30s. I'm 29, and we're in there with 20 and 30s. We're the same, are we?
Well, basically, yeah, I think so. But yeah, no, I thought that show with Owen was really good, and it's got amazing feedback. Not least from the man who scored that wonder goal yesterday as well. I just thought it was really, really good. And when Vin comes on, when Ethan comes on, so we're trying to make we're trying to get more younger fans involved, and anyone could take part. And you doing your thing, Craig doing his thing, Morgan who's going to be doing the fan stories. It helps me out because then I don't have to just be there all the time and put it all together. I mean, I'll probably have to have some input in terms of putting it on YouTube and doing all that kind of stuff, but I don't want to be doing this all the time. So the more
and you're a fan as well, so you can sit back and watch other people's as well, which is nice. Do you know what I mean?
Like.
Yeah.
But
great.
Anyway, mate, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. I'm gonna have a cup, all right?
Good man. Enjoy.
Thanks,
it is nearly 10 o'clock, so yeah, go on to ITV+1 now and watch them doing all the trials. Yeah, right. I better be off. Right. Thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you want to watch the JT interview back, it's ready for you right now. And remember, we've got Kevin Bond on Wednesday as well. And that, I've got to say, is a cracking interview. Until then, up the Cherries. What a weekend, eh? See ya.